Hi friends, Sharon from Mad Paper Crush here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing some fabric pockets for a journal that I'm working on, and I thought I would turn on the camera and have you craft along with me. So these are the ones we're going to be creating. You can see that I have some fabric collage on these pockets with bits of paper and trim. And then I did some sewing. So these are relatively easy to do. I think the hardest part is actually doing the collage to come up with a, pleasing configuration that you like. So what you're going to need for this project is you'll need some fabrics. So I chose a bunch of fabrics that I felt matched what I was doing in my journal. So I have all of those picked out. And I also have some trims, and I picked out a bunch. I tried to get some ribbon and some trims and different things. I didn't end up using them all, but it's nice to have options. So sometimes I just, walk around my room and try and find, some things that I think might work. And then if they do, great. And if not, that's okay too. And then you're also going to need, obviously, your sewing machine to be able to sew on those. You could certainly do that by hand if you wanted to as well. Also for these, I used index cards as my backing. So I have one that's 3x5 and one that's 3.5x5. So you'll want to pick sizes that will fit inside of your journal. And then any decoration that you want for the top. So if you have matching ephemera or something that you would like to decorate the front of them with, I would bring that together too. And you certainly don't need any. This one, I didn't put any ephemera on. This one just has a couple of tickets with a brad. And this one just has a label with some coordinating paper from the kit. So that's all you need. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, to start these off, I have picked out some fabrics that I believe will match with the colors in my journal. And I'm just going to do some tearing of these. So like this one is already torn a little bit, and I want this to kind of have those ragged edges. I like kind of the shabby look. So I'm just going to be taking all of these, cutting them into different size pieces, and then tearing them into different size pieces. So I just make a little snip on one side and give it a tear, and you get a nice strip of fabric with these beautiful torn edges that I'm going to use to make the pockets. And then I also have some index cards. One of them I cut to 3x5, and these other ones are actually 3.5x5. I know my journal is going to be about 5 inches, maybe a little bit bigger than 5 inches wide, and about, 8 inches tall. So I thought this was a good size pocket. I wanted to try a little bit smaller one, but I think I like the bigger ones a little bit better. So we'll just do these and see how they turn out. So I'm just going to tear some fabric, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have torn up all kinds of pieces of fabric since I'm going to collage at least one of these pockets. I may do a different type of fabric pocket for the last one, but since I spent that time and tore up all these beautiful fabrics, I wanted to go ahead and do some collage. So I have these that I'm going to use for most of the base. And then I also just found some ribbon and some trim and things that I thought might go nice with everything as well to do my end decoration. And then I'll probably add either some labels or some of the ephemera from the kit that I'm using to, you know, kind of decorate on the top. So I kind of have all that ready to go so I can look at it, but we'll see what happens as we go along. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to pick one of my pockets, which is just my index card here, my blank index card. And I'm going to start collaging with the fabrics that I have here. Now, I just wanted to mention, like, there were some pieces of my fabric that I thought this was a good size for the fabric, but this edge isn't torn, but I could still use it if I just, you know, keep it towards the inside. Since I like this sort of ragged edge, I want to keep those, you know, out as much as I can, and then I'll cover up any straight edges if I have to do that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was, because this card is white, I want to be sure that my edges of my fabric go over the top of that edge so that it doesn't show. And actually, I may even go ahead and distress these a bit, just to make sure the edges are nice and distressed for when I get the fabric on. So if it does fold over a little, or, you know, you get a glimpse of it, it won't be hard, it won't be easy to tell that it was white in the beginning. So this step certainly isn't necessary, but I figure my luck, I'll need to have it covered up. So, all right, so let's start with that as my base here. So now, like I said, I'm just going to start layering some fabrics on here. And I see my, you know, my nice, yummy, shabby edges here. I want to kind of put those in a place where they're really going to be seen well. And let's see. Actually, let's maybe do a big one here. And I may need to, you know, tear some additional pieces as I go, depending on, you know, what the size of things are. It's not wide enough. And I really like that so far. So that's easy enough. If I can remember where everything is, then I can tack it down. But I also just want to kind of take a look at what some trim might look on here, how it would look, so that when I do the top layering, you know, I just want some additional decoration on here is really all I'm trying to say. So let's see. So I might like use a label and maybe even, let's see, how about, I'm gonna grab my cutter, and I have a blank page from the digital kit that I'm using, but I think that label might look good, you know, with a little bit of a background. So let me just cut a little bit of this out so we can take a look at how that might look. Let's see. Oops, I need to cut the edges off of that too, don't I? Whoops. Totally ripped the blade right out of there. Okay. And that's a big border, but I'm okay with that. Let's see, so if I have this here, I'm already getting things all over the place. I think that's going to cover up too much of my fabrics, isn't it? Maybe we'll try a little smaller. This is the thing I love about collage, and sometimes the thing I hate about collage is that you don't really know if you're going to like it until you know, actually put it down. But today we're going to like it. Actually, I kind of like the way that looks. So there's a little bit of blue on the left-hand side and then a little bit of blue on the right-hand side. You could even do I'm going to turn this around. I don't know why, but I want that label for some reason. I want it on the left-hand side. I'm sure there's a reason why I feel that way. Right now, I don't know what it is. Actually, I just like the way the lines of the fabric go around that a little bit better. And that goes on there. Oh, I like that a lot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim my trim down. Whoops. Probably should use my fabric scissors for that. And then I'm going to carefully remove everything. These are my top pieces. And then I'm going to see if I can remember where everything went. So this piece maybe goes first and that goes second. And then all I'm going to do, this one goes over here. This one goes up here. So that's how I'm kind of remembering it. And then I'm just going to put just a teeny bit of glue right in the middle. Make sure my edges are lined up where I want them. And the glue is just tacking them down because I am going to sew around these. It goes there. And it's funny, you know, I started it with the brown on the top and ended up with the brown on the bottom. So you just never know when you start collaging paper or fabric how things are going to end up. Okay, and I think I'm going to do just a little tack on this as well. And I think I'm going to try and do it mostly on the ends, although I will probably tack the whole thing down. While I'm stitching, I don't want it to move out of place. Okay. And then I'm going to put this here after I'm going to do some distressing on there and possibly some stamping on there. But I really like the way that one looks. So that's one pocket down. So now I'm going to try and put this in a place where, and you don't want to see the rest of my studio here because there's stuff everywhere. So we're going to put this aside, see if we can do that way. All right, and I'm going to do the next big size one because I really liked the size of that one. So I'm going to try this one, and I'm going to start, I'm going to try to use some pieces that I didn't use in the first one. So I didn't use any of this blue, and I was thinking it might be fun to do something all the way across. So maybe I can work on a little bit of a different pattern for this one. Looks like I might have to put something on the side. Let's see. Maybe I can put some of this brown on this side. And I really love this color. And I forgot to distress my card. I'm going to go back and do that in just a minute. And let's see. Actually, I kind of like the simplicity of this. But instead of, I think I'm going to put the white down first. And I might have to re-tear this one to get it to be the size that I want it to be. I like that, I think. I think it almost needs something on the other side. Let's see. I know that you're all probably yelling at me because you know exactly what I need to do to make this look the way I want it to. Let's see if we can put that all the way across, this all the way across. Maybe I just need a long piece to go down this side. Let me see how that would look. I think I need more contrast. I think that's the problem with this one. So maybe we can use, actually maybe I can use this blue, this. Yeah, I think that'll do it. All right, so let me do this. I want to make sure the rest of these are torn down enough. And this one I'm going to leave because I don't think I'll be able to tear off that little tiny piece. But this one, I like the width of this one. So I just need a little bit underneath there. So I'm going to tear this off about right here. So then this will go down first, just like that. And this one will go here, and then this one we'll need to tear down too. And I think I'm going to put it underneath. There is a straight edge there, but let me get the size here first. Tear that one down. Okay, so if I put this one first, and then layer that on top to give us those nice edges. And then this one. Yep, I like that a lot. And I'm ripping that one down to size, and everything falls apart. Try this again. Okay. Okay. There. I'll definitely have to get those a little straighter maybe. Or not. Might be fun to do some at a diagonal too. Okay, and then let's see. Could maybe just do some tickets or some stamps. Let's do some tickets. I haven't done anything with tickets yet. And I love the tickets. Okay, let's see what's, actually I think those two might be nice. So then I can put those maybe there. Once again, there goes my, put it on the right side or left side. Where's this trim? I'm gonna try a little bit of a different trim maybe to give it some pizzazz. Actually, that's pretty nice too. Let me go ahead and cut this down. And then maybe what I will do when I find them, I could put like those colorful, those blue brads that I have somewhere. I don't know where they are. Oh, here they are. These might be fun. Maybe a big contrasting blue one there on those to hold those together. Yeah, I think I like that. And then that'll go through to the back. But then we don't have to worry because we can, these are pockets. Okay. So that's another one. I really like that one, the way that one turned out as well. So let me put those aside. I'm going to just slide everything off of here and ink up my edges a little bit. And I'm using Vintage Photo, but I've noticed sometimes with these makeup sponges, I think it changes the color just a bit. It added, and maybe it's the color of the sponge that's coming out. I'm not sure exactly. but just something to be aware of if you're inking with those sponges. Okay, so now going to do this one first. You have to put your glue out for it to work. Now let's do this one. And I'm going to try to get them a little bit straighter this time, since we're tacking them down. But once again, I'm going to be sewing these. And since this one's a little bit longer, I want to try to line up the edges pretty well. I mean, obviously it's not going to be perfect, and I don't want it to be perfect, since I kind of like that raggedy look. And there's strings everywhere. I may have to cut some of them off. Okay. I think I may pull this one down just a tad, because I think I'd rather it be a little bit long on the bottom than the top, so that when you're putting note cards and things in the pocket, you know, it's not kind of tripping you up at all. Okay. And then for this trim, I'm just going to put just a teeny bit of glue right there. And actually, I'm going to trim the top of this. I saw that this one was a little bit frayed at the top. I'm going to use my fabric scissors for this one. I'm trying not to cut off any of my ends of my fabric there. Okay. And then once again, before we do any decorating on this, where's my tickets? I'm going to do some sewing. So I wanted to get the pockets done first, and then we will sew. So I'm going to put that aside, and we have one more, and this one is the smaller one. This is my 3x5 instead of 3.5x5. So before I get going and before I forget, let's go ahead and distress. And I always put a paper down underneath when I'm distressing, you know, on the table, because I have experienced lots of ink on my fingers after just working on the table when I didn't have something down. So that's why I do that. And they make pretty cool, like vintagey, this is just deli paper. It's kind of cool looking, actually. Maybe I'll figure out something to do with that. If you have any ideas for me, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you do. Okay, I think this one I might try to do maybe some squares or close to squares. Let's see how that maybe works. And might be a lot of sewing, but I like the look of the squares. Maybe this one should go up there. And maybe I'll overlap them a little. I think I'm going to need something underneath there, though. Here, wait, let me do one of these. Maybe I need a... This one's probably not going to be quite square, but I wanted it to kind of cover, which it's totally not doing. Right. I think that'll work if I'm just careful when I put it down. So still going to need something under there, though. Let's see. Maybe I'm going to use the dark brown. think I want a bigger one. I'm gonna try this first. This is gonna definitely test my, see, that doesn't quite work there. It's a little small, but it might look nice, you know, over top. So we'll keep these two handy. Okay, so I'm gonna need definitely need a bigger one back there. Let's see if I have some wider strips I can use. Okay. And let's see. Maybe I'll use another brown one for the background here. I think I'm going to need a little bit bigger piece. Let's see if I have, oh, yeah, that'll work. Okay, and then, so this is really patchworky. I can put some of these on. Maybe this one can go. Actually, I think I like that. I think that's kind of nice. Whoa, don't like that at all. Actually, maybe towards the top, that one might be fun. Or let me see it at the bottom. Everything falls apart on me. Let's see. No, I don't know. Definitely like it at the top there. And then I could maybe use, maybe even, let me look and see what I got here. Lots of stuff over here we could maybe use. I was thinking maybe one of these small cards, but that's still going to be way too big. Maybe even I could use the bottom of one of the tags. Ooh, or maybe I could cut out this lighthouse. I like that idea. Okay. Or even a shell, maybe. Okay, I think I have lots of options here that I think we can do. Maybe even that shell could go right on top of that one. But the other thing is that this one, because it's kind of so decorative, it may not need anything on top of it. I might just like it just like that. All right, so let's cut down the trim. Get that out of the way. And let's go ahead and tack that down. Now this one is gonna be tricky. So I'm gonna try and take things off. So these are my top decorative pieces. So that's kind of where I'm gonna kind of put those like that. I think I want my, well, it looks like all of, these are my top pieces and these are my bottom pieces. Let me move these out of the way here. All right, so I think I'm gonna put these on first. Just give them a little tack. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. this one down next. Okay. So I'd love to hear if you guys like making fabric pockets and fabric embellishments for your journals. I haven't done too many of them, and I'm not sure why. I really kind of like the way these are turning out. So, so let me know in the comments what you think. Okay. And I want this one down next. And this is one of those ones that has the straight edge, so I think I want to just kind of tuck that underneath my other ones if I can. Probably should have put it on first, huh? Okay. There we go. And then this one. And I feel like with these little squares, like I'm constantly turning them around to find which way, you know, which end has the nicest fray and what side looks best up, all that good stuff. That there, and then that there. And this one actually probably doesn't even need any trim. So I might double, you know, think that. I'm gonna cut some of this off. It's getting a little crazy here. Whoops. Really crazy. There. And certainly after it's sewn, if there's a lot of crazy strings, I might take them off. Like some of these are getting a little nuts, but I will sew it first and see what I think. So that's it with no trim. Let me just take a look and see what we think. I don't know. I think that really kind of does finish it off, doesn't it? All right, we'll go for it. I already put my glue back in. Okay. So that one is now done too. Okay, so here's our 3 fabric pockets. So far, they're not done yet, but this one we're going to add a label and some paper to. This one we're going to add some tickets to, and this one I haven't totally decided if I'm going to add anything to it because I kind of just like the patchworkness of it. So I'm going to sew the bottom pieces, so I'm gonna make sure the seam is stitched. I'm definitely going around all of the outside, and I will probably do some inside seams or maybe around these edges just to make sure everything is put down properly. So I will be right back and show you what that looks like. Okay, I'm back and they're sewed, and I trimmed off some of the threads, not all of them, but some of the threads, mostly the sewing threads I trimmed off. But I did have a couple of tips for you if you're going to try and make these, which I hadn't thought about before. So the first one is the trim. So depending on your trim, you may want to do that last. So luckily I had only tacked them on with my glue. It was easy for me to pull them off and do this last because this is kind of thick And depending on which way your pressure foot is going, you might have needed to turn it around, you know, and go another way so that you didn't pull it up like I kind of did in this one. So you can kind of see here, as I was going this way with my sewing machine, I kind of pulled the trim up a little bit. The other thing to note is that this end is even longer now again. So it definitely, you know, sometimes your trim and things will stretch. And actually you can see it over here too. So I'm gonna need to trim those up one more time. So just as a side note. And then if you're wondering what, you know, like what you need to sew, I didn't use any special formula. I just basically wanted to make sure I had all the ends in. So for this one, before I went around and did the trim, I just did 2 little stitches, one here on this blue line, on this light blue line, and then one here on the little bit of a darker blue one. And that was enough, I figured, to hold everything down. And then when I did the outside edge, I got, you know, sort of got the rest of everything in. And then I sewed down this with a little zigzag stitch. So that was kind of all I did for that one. Some of these other ones, because there were squares in the middle, I thought it might look nice to have more stitching done around some of the specific squares. So for this one, I just went, since I knew the trim was going to be going here, I did just trim, and actually it should be held this way. I did just went on the 3 sides of this piece of fabric, and then I did a little piece here to make sure that top edge was held down, and I did one here to make sure this side edge was held down, and I think that was it. And then I went around the whole thing again as well. So, and then I, you know, actually this one I did go over the trim at the end, but I had already tacked it down with my zigzag stitch around the edge, which is how it got pulled back a little bit here. So, but I like the way it turned out. And this one I did even more stitching on. I went around a lot of the circles that were in the middle of the card to make sure, you know, all of the edging was tacked down before I went around the whole thing. And then I did put this trim on at the very end and just did a straight stitch across that to make sure that it was held down as well. So those are my 3 fabric pockets, and I love the way they turned out, but we still have some work to do on them to finish them off. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distress the items that I'm going to put on top here. And I'm just going to do this just a little on the edge. When I cut out these tickets, sometimes you can see a little bit of the white because I'm not a great fussy cutter. So I want to be sure all that is hidden. And actually this one could use a little trim maybe. I wasn't lying when I said I'm not good at it. Okay. And the only thing I didn't do, which I still want to do, is I think I want to possibly fussy cut out one of the shells. So let me finish this and we'll decide if we're going to do that as well. Okay. All right, looking good here. Okay. Now this one, I think I'm going to just leave the way that it is. This was the pocket that we wanted to have these tickets on. And I do really like the way they look there. And I think I will kind of leave these a little bit loose and just use a brad in there. So I'm going to see if I can get in here. You know what, this thing isn't very long. Might be better to use my hole punch, my hand hole punch here. So So I'm just going to punch a little hole in the two of these where I want that brad to go. Ooh, and I need to decide which way. I think I like the shells better on top, because I do want to be sure that we get through both tickets here. So I think that'll do. And so now I have this nice little hole here in the two tickets there. And I need to decide where they're going to go on my card or on my pocket, because I am going to want to punch a hole in here as well. So let me just grab, of course I don't have any of my good pens. Maybe I'll try this. I'm going to see if a pencil will work okay here. And then I'm going to take a paper piercer. And actually I could probably do this one with that tool as well. I think that might work just as well to get through my fabrics, which it did. We're all good. Now I'm going to take this bright blue brad, and I have two different ones in here, so I might need to decide between the two. I have a dark blue and one that really matches this fabric, but I think I want the contrast of the dark blue on here, so I think I'm going to do that. And then this can be turned whatever way I want there. And there we go. One is done. I love it. And the only other thing that I may do with this one, and I don't know, depending on what we do with the other ones, I might do the same thing, is line the back of this. So if you put this in your book as a pocket and you put, you know, a tag or something in here, you don't want it to get hung up on the brad legs back there. So it might just be easiest for me to put, you know, like a book page or something down on this to cover it up. Or I could just use a piece of washi tape to make sure that it's down. So I'm just going to put this down for now, and when I'm actually putting the journal together, I'll sort of make that decision of, you know, if I feel like it needs to have more protection back there so that we're not getting in the way of any note cards. But I love the way that one looks. And then this one, we have to decide how we're going to put this on. And I could certainly just glue everything down. And I could sew this on too. We could even, you know, like sew this on and then glue this down. And actually that might be kind of fun, because then you could see the stitching around the edge of that. So I think maybe I will do that. So I'm going to put a little tack on this so I know right where I want it. Make sure I give myself enough room around the edges. And then I'm just going to take this over to my sewing machine and sew the edge, a little zigzag stitch around the edge of this one too. So I'll be right back. Okay, and you can see I added a little zigzag around the edge of that. I tried to, you know, have one stitch on, one stitch off. I like the way that turned out. And then I'm going to just glue my label on top of there. I think that'll be perfect. So I'm gonna grab my Beacon 3-in-1. Give that a little glue. And we'll let that set up just a minute. And there you have it, friends. 3 fabric pockets for a journal that I'm working on. I hope this inspires you to go out and make some of your own fabric pockets. If you do, I hope that you'll tag me on social media. I'm on Instagram at @madpapercrush, or let me know in the comments down below if you gave it a try. I hope that you liked this video. Please hit the thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so that you can be notified when I put out new videos. So I hope that you guys will do something creative today. Thanks for spending some time with me. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.